Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, a couple in their late 20s, initially uninterested in social media, enjoyed a simple relationship. The wife, dependent on the husband's income, secretly engaged in explicit conversations with a writing partner, leading to a clandestine encounter at their home. Discovered by the husband, he confronted her and learned of her cheating. After refusing her suggestion of an open relationship, he left, sought legal counsel, and eventually divorced. He moved in with a friend whose confession of feelings for him had been made months earlier. The husband found a better life post-divorce. Now let's get into the story. My wife, 26 female, and I, 27 male, weren't very fond of social media. Our relationship was very simple and pleasant. We didn't get caught up worrying about stuff that didn't matter, and we never compared our lives to others. We were married for 4 years, and the only platform she started using was Google Docs for work. She was really good at helping people and enjoyed writing articles to do with relationships or pretty much any other life question. I didn't know, but she started talking to a man daily without even having to log into a social account. My wife had a contact that worked with her on a few different things. When she decided to talk to him about the sexual fantasies she wanted him to fulfill, she knew she couldn't afford to get caught. She largely depended on my income to survive. She was careful to never have anything incriminating on her phone. She knew that was one of the most common things people use to cheat, so she was always very open with it. She would leave it unlocked on the counter, or I'd find it sitting beside me on the couch. She spent time on her computer, but it always seemed like she was working, because the main thing she had open was whatever document she was working on. Our sleep schedule randomly started to change. I fell asleep earlier while she stayed up late. This went on for 2 weeks, even though I wanted it to stop and I was trying to stay up later. One night, my wife dropped something and it scared me awake. I pretended to fall back asleep quickly so I could listen to what she was doing. I peeked at her computer when she got back on it, and it was a document as usual. But this time, I was close enough that I could see there were 2 different colored text cursors, and she would laugh and giggle every now and then. Then I heard something hit our window. It sounded like a small pebble. I couldn't believe it. I held my breath while my wife opened the window and started whispering that whoever it was shouldn't be there. She closed the window quietly and snuck outside. I followed behind her. After about 30 seconds, I watched from around the corner as she spoke with some man. I had no idea how or why this was happening. They talked for 15 whole minutes, but I couldn't hear anything from where I was. So I went back inside to look at her laptop. I read what turned out to be a chat between 2 people where my wife told him what she wanted him to do to her. She just didn't count on him showing up outside her window. When I heard the door opening, I bolted back into bed, and my wife closed the bedroom door as quietly as possible. I didn't believe there was any way she'd sleep with the man, not while I was sleeping under the same roof. I got down on the floor by the cracks so I could watch. I could just barely see the couch. I saw their pants drop on the floor and both their legs disappeared. I heard AP ask about going into the bedroom, but she just said it was a cluttered mess. I didn't think of grabbing my phone to record. I just threw the door open. My wife screamed and the guy tripped out the door without his pants as he ran. I yelled after him to ask how he knew my wife. He didn't answer. I went back inside and asked her how freaking stupid she could possibly be. I stared at her in disbelief. She said she was really sorry and explained that he was her writing partner and he just showed up without permission. She felt bad for him and let him in to hang out, but he was the one that made her take off her pants. I told her I was watching them when they got to the couch and their pants came off simultaneously. I also knew what her computer said and that she was going to extreme lengths to hide her affair. Plus, she must have told him where she lived, expecting or wanting him to show up. I asked her why she told him her fantasies, and if I wasn't good enough. She didn't know what to say and only looked a little sad, like I stubbed my toe. She said she still loved me and asked if we could go to bed and talk about it in the morning. I freaked out, asking how she could still love me if she was sleeping with someone else. I told her I was absolutely not going to bed with her ever again, and it wasn't until I said that she was finally starting to see how bad this was. When I told her she needed to leave, she was shocked. She asked if she could just write me a coupon to sleep with another woman. There was no way that was a healthy solution, and I'd honestly never consider it, but I wanted to see how she'd react if I took it, so I said yes. She was surprised and smiled weakly. She wrote me one, and I turned it into her right away, saying I wanted to sleep with her best friend Jess. She was shocked and started questioning if I had feelings for her all along or what it mattered if she had the gall to sleep with AP right under my nose. As I slept in the other room, it looked like she was finally starting to see this from my perspective. She apologized more sincerely, but I told her I didn't want her apology. The fact that she didn't consider me or know how important her loyalty was disturbed me. I asked her if she ever slept with someone else without my knowledge, and she looked away. I instantly knew she had. She confessed to sleeping with someone she met at the grocery store. I could not believe this. I told her she was a stupid waste of time and I hated her. I packed my bags and left. I drove to her friend's house because she had already confessed her feelings to me months before. But I never spoke to her because I was serious about my wife. After I got in her bed, I called my lawyer. My wife showed up to her friend's house 3 days later, losing her mind because she wanted me back. I could hear her yelling at Jess downstairs to let her in so she could tell me what she needed to say. I came down to prevent it from escalating. She told me that she didn't realize how important and irreplaceable I was to her, that no sideman could replace the love I gave to her on a daily basis. I was pretty sarcastic and heartless. Even when she started crying so hard her lip trembled, I didn't feel anything for her once I knew she slept around. By the time our divorce was final, I had moved in with Jess, and my life has been much better ever since. Today's second story. In this story, a young couple, grappling with financial challenges and a newborn, took a hit when the wife's attempt at a home business failed. She secured a night job at a gas station, but weeks passed without a paycheck, prompting the husband to investigate. Shockingly, he discovered his wife's affair with a married pastor. In a bold move, he exposed the truth on social media, leading to divorce and custody favoring the husband. Despite the turmoil, he rebuilt his life, focusing on personal growth and maintaining a positive outlook for himself and his son. Now let's get into the story. My wife, 23, and I, 26, were struggling to pay the bills for a while. By the time I asked her to get a job, we had a newborn baby. So she'd been trying to work from home by starting her own business. But it was costing us more money than it was earning. It was really disappointing, and neither of us were feeling very hopeful at this time in our life. She agreed to get a part-time job and told me she started applying to anything around the area. Not even 3 days went by before she told me she was hired at a gas station down the street and she'd be working at night. So we didn't have to pay anyone to watch our newborn. It seemed like it was going to work out great. 2 weeks went by without a paycheck from her job, and I was missing my wife in bed. It was a hard adjustment, although my wife seemed really happy. She said she enjoyed her job and it felt good to be making money for us. At least she was happy, I thought. Another week went by and she still didn't have a paycheck. When I asked her what was taking so long, she said she accidentally put in the wrong account number on her direct deposit form. It was frustrating, but things happen, I thought. She continued working for another 2 weeks without a paycheck. I'd finally had enough. What would delay her paycheck for so long? Then I got the unsettling thought that maybe my wife wasn't going to work at all. She was very happy, didn't seem at all concerned about the money she was missing, and she would only ever tell me not to worry about it. So one night, I decided to have my friend follow her to work. I had to stay with the baby and she wouldn't be looking for my friend's car. He called me after 35 minutes with really bad news. My wife had driven way past the gas station into some random house. She went inside and he hasn't heard or seen anything since. My heart nearly stopped when I heard this. I told him to come get me. We took the baby to my mom's house on the way to this random house my wife was visiting. I tried to open the front door, even though my friend thought I was crazy. It was locked anyway. So I sat in the car with my friend, watching the house and wondering what to do. Finally, 1 hour before her shift would end, the porch light came on and she came out of the house with a man. He kissed her passionately on the lips before she left. Sweat started pouring out of me, and I felt like I was falling. My friend drew over at a distance from her until she got to a diner. She spent my money to pay for her breakfast, so she didn't have a part-time job. She was going to this guy's house and spending the night every night. My friend didn't really know what to say, but it was good to just have someone there with me. I asked him what I should do, and he suggested I hire a pie. I couldn't afford that, but he did give me an idea. I asked him if he could sit outside the house at least one more time to get some pictures. Any pictures would help. He agreed. I also bought and installed a GPS tracker on my wife's car. It was so hard for me to resist following her or confronting her with what I found out. I waited 4 days to give my friend and the GPS tracker time to get some evidence. While I waited, I tried to figure out where I knew this man from. He looked so familiar, and it wasn't until I stopped thinking about it that his identity dawned on me. He was the pastor of a church I visited about 3 times years ago. He was married when I visited the church, but I wasn't sure if that was still the case. I sent him a friend request on Facebook, and he accepted it, probably assuming I was a churchgoer. I told my friend I knew who the guy was, and he said I would be either really pleased or upset with the pictures he got. My friend went above and beyond to help me. He snuck up to the bedroom window of the house, using something to stand on to take pictures. Through the window, there was just enough light to tell that it was my wife having intimate with the pastor. He was right. I didn't know if I was pleased or upset. I was upset, but pleased I could prove she was cheating on me. It was time to turn my wife's world upside down. After she left for work one night, I took all my stuff and her son to my mom's house. I left divorce papers on the table, and right when my wife should have been arriving home, I posted the pictures my friend took and the GPS tracker information on Facebook. I tagged her, her friends and family, and the pastor himself. There was a digital explosion. All of the pastor's Facebook friends, including his wife, reacted to my post. All of my wife's friends and family commented, asking me what I was going to do, how she could do this, and offering me consolation. Some of them flat out insulted my wife, telling her she was a terrible person and didn't deserve to see her infant baby anymore. That was harsher than even I could be. My wife called me, dismayed and overwhelmed. She wasn't sure what to ask about first, but she started with asking me to take my post off Facebook. I refused. She asked me how I expected her to survive after divorce, and that was the stupidest question she could have asked. I said, "How about you get a job like you told me you were going to do, instead of sleeping with a married pastor behind my back?" She gasped, claiming she didn't know he was married. The divorce went super well for me. I won primary custody of our son, and my wife was ordered to pay me child support and alimony. She was able to keep the house because it was in her name, but she failed to make the mortgage payments. She had no choice but to move in with her parents who lived out of state. They didn't want her to move in, but eventually said she could stay in the basement. It's good for her that her car was paid off by me at this point, because I'm sure that it would have been repoed if it wasn't. She called me often, crying. She missed our son and me. She admitted she'd been a lazy and inconsiderate wife. She swore she would never be the same person again, but it didn't matter to me anymore. The pastor's wife was on a missionary trip while her husband had close with my wife in their house. She filed for divorce as well, and actually thanked me for investigating and revealing what was going on. She asked me if I wanted to go out to dinner some night, and I agreed. It didn't take me long to be able to afford a new house for my son and I. My mom watches him each day, and she's never been happier. Things can work out, and time keeps moving, even if you don't. I couldn't stop moving because my son depends on me. I've also started speaking positively to myself, choosing to focus on the goodness in life rather than the negativity.